Started recording. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and go back to sharing my screen. Wonderful. So we're back at the application. And then the notifications panel is a great way for me to see any items that I need to take action on. I have a lot because I'm in my training site. I mean, I have some audits I need to go look at, some tags that are past due I need to view, and transfer information as well. But just know that when you come in, yours will be blank until you start to really utilize the application and all those various pieces, as you can see here. All right, so then let's talk a little bit about the top navigation bar as we are at the site view. So remember, we said at the admin view, the easy way that I know I'm on admin is I can see sites at the top. You'll notice I have a few different items on the top navigation with my site view. I quickly see rooms, staff, and students, which I did not have at that admin view. So when you guys come into the application, you'll be able to know right away what is your view. And the reason why that's so important is there's certain things that you can do actually at the admin view that you may not be able to at the site, and vice versa. Site is really where you get to do a lot of the moving around of assets, associate them to either a staff or student or to a room, or really more so issuing. So there's a lot that takes place at the site view of the application. Over to the far left, we have what we call quick links. We have site tool quick links, and we have transfer tools as well, and then management. Your focus, for the most part, will be on the issue to staff that we're going to come to close to the end of our session. The other pieces we will definitely try to get to, such as room-to-room transfers and so forth. So let's just recap a little bit about how your scenario is going to look when you guys come on the 2nd. When you go into your application, your assets, it should be that one laptop. And what kind of laptop was it again, Joelle? I think I heard you mentioning it to Alicia.
The laptop, the Dell, what was it? Oh, Dell 3301. Awesome. Dell Latitude 3301.
Perfect. Okay. Similar to what I have right now that I'm using. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to put in that specific asset for you under the catalog. So technically you should not have to do any adding of products when you're out there on the fly for this first 350. So I'm going to just do a quick high-level overview of the catalog so you get to kind of see all the pieces that play into it. But my thoughts are, because your focus is just those laptops, let's not dive too deeply in. Does that sound all right?
Yep, that sounds good.
Great. All right, so I'm going to click on catalog. And when I will tell you, a big portion of the catalog does take place at that admin view. So again, it's just dependent on what permission sets that you guys are given. But I can come in and look at the catalog to see the specific assets. So what I'd like to do is just go over what it looks like with when an asset is brought into the application. So you see I have quite a few. When you come in, you'll just have one, and it will open up to your inventory tab, and it's going to let me know how many of those assets I have. So how many, and all of yours will be tagged. We're initially going to utilize your serial number of your assets too, by the way. I'm not sure if you heard that piece, Joelle, yesterday, but this is what our just kind of thoughts were for the current scenario is we're going to go ahead and load just the serial numbers of your assets, and we'll consider them as your tag number at this time. So you'll see that your serial number and your tag number will be the same when you go out to issue these assets. Now, what that means is when you are issuing out to the staff member, you're just going to make sure to scan the serial number, not the tag that is on the asset, because the assets are tagged. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, if you run into a situation where the assets are not tagged, you can go ahead and put a new tag on them, but do not worry about changing the tag, the serial number to the new tag number. We're going to work on that with you guys later on. We figure with this initial rollout, let's just focus on getting those 350 issued out to the staff members. So, and another note is I'm going to create a quick little help guide for you guys, a little step-by-step on what your process should be when you're out in the field on the 2nd. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so just really quickly about your specific assets. So you'll see your Dell Latitude here. It's going to let you know how many you have on site, your total inventory, how many are in use. Available means that have not been issued out to a staff member. So if you wanted to come in here to say, ooh, how many have we issued out to staff members? Oh, I've issued out 33, let's say. And how many do I have available still? These other statuses you will not need to worry about at this time. Those are more of end-of-life statuses. And then you can quickly come over and see detail of the inventory right here under actions as well. Now, what I really want to show you is the details of the specific asset. There's a lot of great information that you can pull under the details tab. Product information, model, product type is going to be important. Yours is going to be probably laptop, but that's really going to be a decision I think that like Frank's going to make. Or maybe you're going to help Frank make that decision, right? And then all these other pieces may not be filled out initially for you, but know that down the road, as we start to build your application, we'll get to fill in all this great information, such as projected life. Another great one is these other fields, if you wanted to specify maybe the screen size of those laptops. So you just have some kind of flexibility here, and then kind of price information. And then also over to the far right has to do with that inventory piece that we've seen as well. Now, at some point, hopefully you will be able to get your catalog built out and you'll have images as well for your district. At this time, you will not be bringing in any accessories, but if you do begin to start adding those and associating those to specific products, you'll get to see that information under accessories. A lot of times districts will put possibly charging cables, maybe laptop cases, just anything that you issue out to staff or students that you possibly would like to receive back at the end of the year if you do collect, or if they just to know how many you're actually purchasing and issuing out to others. So it's just dependent on how your processes are for your district. Do I have any questions about the kind of the basic overview of the catalog?
No.
Okay, fantastic. I'm not going to go over purchasing since that was not our focus with this initial rollout, but this is where you would be able to come to if you were going to order additional assets from a vendor. This can take place at the admin view as well as the site view that we're currently on. All right, so rooms. Now, your initial setup is going to be that one room. So it may not come into play initially, but I'd like to at least talk to you a little bit about what rooms looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and select rooms. And it's thinking for me. Alrighty, so when I come in, you'll have one that will say something most likely like receiving, storage, and so forth. But let's say that you had both of those rooms and you needed just some to move assets from one to the next. So that will be our scenario. But first, let's take a look at what it looks like to even add a room. So maybe you are on the campus and it's decided, hey, we do need that extra receiving room, let's say. To add a room is extremely simple. You just go to Add Record. And it's just a field or two that you'll need to fill out, which are going to be room number and description. So I would just need to, let's say maybe I did Hamden storage. And it has a character limitations you see here, but I got the gist of what I'm trying to say in there, right?
Yes.
And so then I would need my description. You'd probably want to have a little bit more about what the room really is than I have put here. And if you want, you could put in room type. So this time you most likely will have just maybe like classroom as a room type, but it's not required. So if it doesn't make sense, you just leave it blank. And then there is, if it's going to be active or not, which it would be. And then any general information, like maybe it's in the West Wing, as you see here, or kind of give it a general idea, hey, this is a virtual room, really. And then any notes that you would like to also just ensure that an individual coming into the application would know what that room is specifically for. And if it looks good, you click on the little green diskette to either add or save within this application. There we go. And then if I go ahead and search for it, here's my room, and as mentioned earlier, see, it opens up right to my inventory, which currently we do not have any. That will take place here in a little bit. And then I just get all the same details that I see here. Now, as you're down the road, there may be something where you'll want to associate staff members to homerooms. This is where you would do it. This will be covered in your full training session as well as audits. So I'm not going to focus on those, but know that they're kind of here. So if down the road you're like, hey, it'd be great if it did this, or does the application do this functionality? Potentially you'll recall that. And if anything, you can always reach out to us where we can help walk you through that. Does that sound okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. Alrighty. So that was rooms in a nutshell. I'm going to go ahead and refresh really quickly here. Now, when you come into your application, you will have the staff members. We're doing at this time what's called a one-time import. So we're getting a list from you of your staff members, and we're going to put them into the sites that they're supposed to be on. So when you come into the application, your staff members will already be here for you for at least this round. And then I think down the road, we'll talk about what it will look like to have it happen on a nightly basis, potentially, so that you have that recurring kind of update as staff members come in and leave the district and potentially move around, right? When you come in, you'll see that you have all of your staff members. I'm not going to worry about how to add a staff member at this point, but know that it's another add record right here. If you do run into that scenario, you can just reach out to us, and we will be happy to help walk you through that piece. I'll also put it in the guide just to be safe, but I do not believe that that will be an item that you'll need to address when you are working this initial 350 rollout. But you gain quite a bit of great information about staff members here right away, just even in my grid here. Now, in each of my grids, I have what's called a blue grid header, where I can gain information about what is provided for me in my grid. So I have my staff ID number, staff information as you see, even grade, homeroom, what type are they? Are they a teacher? If we look and see what other type there is. Are they a principal, a librarian, and so forth? So I could even do a quick little search for maybe all of my librarians. And then also if there is a status associated with them, such as there's none in my training, but are they maybe on maternity leave? Are they retiring? And we could actually customize that information per district. Now, actions in every grid is going to provide various information for you based on that specific line item. So you see here, I've highlighted Alan Moore. It's in that kind of gold yellow. And under actions, I have several items that I can do. I can issue to Alan right here. So that is one way that you'll be able to issue to staff members. I'm going to show you another way here in a few that I think is going to be a little bit more streamlined for what you are trying to accomplish. But this is a great way if you're just trying to issue to a individual staff member. You can quickly come here to staff, find the individual, even maybe do filter to try to locate them, and then you can come over here under actions and click on issue inventory to staff. Now, there's also inventory history, which is going to just give you a running history of all assets that have ever been issued to the staff member. And then you have a report here, which is called a transaction receipt. And if you notice as I hover over each of them, what I appreciate is the tooltip that I get, because I may forget what specifically an item is. So it helps me just as a quick little reminder. This would be a transaction receipt that would show all assets at any point that have been issued to Mr. Alan Moore. And it's in a great kind of form that I could print out and send, hand to him, or even mail to him. We're going to see that as well as some distribution receipts when we do the distribution in the other form, which is under quick links. And then at some point, the district may decide, hey, we would like to assess charges to maybe staff, maybe students. And so here's where you would actually be able to apply charges to a specific staff member. So these are some great opportunities under actions. And we're going to go ahead and leave them at that high level since our focus is going to be that main distribution that we have here shortly. But I did want to dive in a little bit more into Mr. Alan Moore. Over to the far left of most of your grids, you may see a little expander option. If I click that, it's going to give me a little bit more detail about Mr. Alan Moore. It's going to let me see inventory that is issued out to him. And you'll see I have a couple of letters here. I have an A, which stands for those accessories we talked about earlier. So Alan's Latitude 13 did come with an AC adapter, power cable, and messenger bag. So it's just a quick little way to see that information. You will not see that A at this time since we are not having accessories with these specific Dells. A C refers to what's called a custom field that is set up at that admin view that we've mentioned earlier. And it could be something such as, hey, what is the image date of this specific asset, or when was it last imaged? So it's just going to be information that you would like to have tracked in the application, but may not be a field currently. So as you're out there in, issuing assets, this may be something that you even can kind of circle back to Frank or to each other and say, it'd be really great if we could track this information. And that's when you can create what's called that custom field. So that potentially can come down the road. What is great is it can be added at any point. And then I have product information about that item that was issued out to Alan Moore. Here's my tag number. And something that's really cool is whenever you see like blue text and underlined, which I think it's very common in a lot of applications, that means it's a kind of hyperlink and I'm able to go to the actual tag. And we're going to do that here in a little bit and see all the great information that you can kind of pull from a tag. The status, so do you guys remember it's issued out to someone, so that status has been changed from available to in use. And then when it was scanned in or really issued out to Alan, where was it issued from? So what campus? Now, because it's been issued, my actions have changed. And so I could actually do what's called a quick collect or collect that asset back from Alan and maybe put it into my storage room. I can also do a quick report, which is called product distribution receipt, which is just going to be a list of the products that have been distributed to Alan. And then here we go with assessing a charge again if need be. Any questions?
No.
Great. So under details is going to have that detailed information about Alan. So if you needed to find out any information specifically, you could do so here. We have what's called that homeroom association that I mentioned when we looked at rooms. You're able to also see any rooms that Alan is associated to right here under his account under staff. And then detailed information such as address, phone number, and email. And then the other information that we kind of saw, status, what site is Alan associated to? That's definitely important. And then any notes that may come into place. So here it's, hey, he's assisting with the automotive class as well. So just any good information that would be beneficial to view later on. We chat about inventory. Charges would be that piece of if any charges were associated. And then attachments is fantastic. Attachments will take place if you do utilize what's called the distribution receipt. You get to see it here. But you can also load any documentation that's coming from outside of the application as well. So maybe if there's some sort of documentation that you like to use within your district with maybe usability kind of documentation, you definitely are able to come and add that here as well. Now, I'm just going to mention there are some great reports in a majority, really all of our pages that you see in our top navigation. And with any of them, you're able to get to those reports on the top right of your grid. It'll say, please select, staff or student or tag report. and you will have a list of varied reports based off PDF or Excel that you will be able to come and pull great information on. So just know that down the road, this may not come into play at the moment, but down the road you have some great information. And in that document that I sent you, I'm going to give you a report or two that are going to be beneficial for you to take a peek at and how to access those. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and skip over students. It really is going to be what we just have seen with staff. And then tags we'll circle back to here in a bit as well. What I'd like to do is go ahead and show you what a tag looks like, right? It's like, all right, Steph, you keep talking about these tags. Well, what does that mean? What does it look like? So one of my favorite spots of the application, and I'm going to be honest with you, I have quite a few, but this is definitely one. This is what we call quick search, or sometimes people will call it tag serial search. Now, what's really cool is if you notice there's a drop-down arrow here, if I could pronounce or say arrow, and I have some opportunity to also search for staff or students as well. So maybe if there's a specific staff member I'm looking for, I could say, oops, okay, I need to look for Alan. So if I start to type in his name, it's going to do its best to try to hone in on Alan or whoever that specific individual is. Now, what's great is that
is now exiting.
So now when I come in and I select Alan Moore, I can gain additional information about him specifically right here. A lot of what we just saw, but I don't have to go to the staff page to look. I can quickly just start typing in a name. Maybe I don't know the last name or how it's really spelt, so I can try to kind of figure out. So it's definitely a quick opportunity to gain information about a staff member and those items or inventory that are issued out to them. If I click on this link, it would take me right over here to Alan as we see. But let's go ahead and dive into an actual tag. So I'm going to say tag serial. And I have a tag I like to use. It has some great information here. So I'm definitely a visual person. The first thing I notice is, hey, there's some icons here. What's great is if they are in color, they're not grayed out, that means that they are active for you to take action or select them. If they happen to be grayed out, that means that you may not have the permission set, or there may be a reason why you're unable to take action. And I would just reach out to your admin or always our support team if you're like, hey, why am I not able to come in here and select that little edit icon? What's happened? And we can walk you through that piece. You gain a great bit of information about a tag in this top area called detail. It's going to let me know that tag number, or really for you all right now, it'll be your serial number, right? So potentially this number and this number will be the same for you when you initially come into the application. You'll get to see the site that it is supposed to be on. And what's fantastic is if that asset is supposed to be on my learning campus and I'm at a different campus, it will be red for me and it will say, hey, it's kind of like another visual indicator in red that you may be on another campus, we'll say Charles Bailey, and you're trying to pull up a tag that is on a learning campus. So it just lets you be aware that that asset belongs to another campus. Where is it located? So this asset is in a room for me, but if it was actually issued out to a staff member, it would give me the information about that staff member. And we'll see that here shortly when we get to actually do the part of issuing. What's really cool is if I click on this little door, it will actually take me to my rooms page and to that specific room. So another great little quick way to get to rooms. Now, asset type, and I think remind me, do you all have carts?
Like the computer cart?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Fantastic. So I think at some point we will look at making an association to what's called a parent, which is a cart, and then to the components, which are the laptops, let's say, that go in the carts, right?
Yes.
And so when that takes place, you will no longer see asset type of standalone. Standalone means, hey, it's just an item of its own. It's not associated to any other asset. So it's not a component or a parent. But down the road, asset type, you may have parent or component also. And then we'll talk about this piece really quickly in a moment. This is where you get to make that association. And then status again is definitely statuses are crucial within the application. But we have status of available. That means this asset is in room 507, but I have the option to quickly issue it to a staff or student, or move it around, or actually make it as in use in that room so that nobody can take it. So maybe I have some projectors in a room that I say, hey, of course it's mounted on the roof, the ceiling. It can't be moved around, so I need to put this in status of in use in that specific room. And then scan date is that last scan date for that specific asset. And then RFID not enabled, no worries about that. All that means is that specific tag that is on that asset does not have RFID capabilities. And all of yours initially probably will not. I'm sure they the poly type were purchased from that vendor that was utilized. Image date, do you remember that custom field, that C that we had seen? This is where you get to see it in the actual tag. And you could quickly come and update right here with the edit pencil if so chose. And any tag notes. So for me, tag notes, it says initial inventory by room. It could have additional information as well. For us, it may be something similar for those first 350, right? Initial 350 brought in for initial rollout of some sorts. Asset condition is something that at the admin level can be set up, and those are going to be a quick view of an asset, like, hey, what kind of condition is this asset in? Is it fair, bad, good, great? It's a great quick way to be able to designate the current condition of an asset, and it just kind of helps for down the road, like maybe if it is issued out to a student, and when you gave it to the student, it was in great condition, and when it came back from that kiddo, maybe it was in fair or not so great condition. So you can kind of keep track of those assets and be able to know that, at some point, either one, we may need to replace this later on. Oops, this keeps coming back from Johnny in not great condition. We may need to have a little chat with him about the proper care of an asset, right?
Yep.
And then due date, if decided to be utilized, is where you'll get to quickly see when this asset is due to come back to you. So this really takes place when we're going to be issuing out to a staff member. You could specify this asset is due back to us, so we're going to collect it from the staff member. Let's just, end of the year, maybe May 15th, let's say, to ensure that we have enough time to kind of close out the year. And so you can utilize due date. It is not required. And the way I know that fields are required or not within the application is if they are this bluish color, they are optional. But if any time, do you remember when we saw with the rooms and when we created the room, we had those two red fields? If the field kind of highlight is red, that means it's required and I would need to fill it out. So this is definitely not a required field. It's just an additional kind of great informational piece, but it's not required. Now, funding information. There are two ways that you'll see funding information in the application for source. So source, I may see initial, which is what's that term we call initialization, which is where you bring in an asset on a one-by-one basis. And so this will be a way that if you're out in the field and you realize, oops, this laptop somehow didn't make it in that initial loading of data, I need to quickly add it so I can issue it out to Alan Moore, and it will come in that status of initial. Now, the other way that you'll see as a source under funding is going to be what's called purchase order, or PO, you may hear sometimes. And that means that it came in through a purchase order, and that's where a lot of additional information will fill in, such as order number, a vendor, federal request number, some good funding information as well about state or federal, if you want to associate invoice information as well. So that may do, typically, Joelle and Nelson, do you do the purchasing piece, or does maybe Frank?
The purchasing piece is usually done outside. I think Karen is usually the one who purchases.
Okay, so then it will most likely be Karen that will come in, and she'll do it on the admin view then, I would say. And so this piece is just great information for you, but you won't have to worry about coming in and editing and so forth, which makes it a little nice, right? It's like they can handle that piece for me. All right, so then product information. We saw a lot of this already earlier, but this another quick snapshot of the product information and even that great image if those are loaded in the application. And then installation information has to do with E-rate and the E-rate kind of funding source. And I'm sure you guys have some potential E-rate. Some districts utilize this, some do not. This has to do a lot, I think, with servers. So if you potentially purchase servers from a with some of the E-rate funds, I mean, you know, they like to have good documentation, right? Of like when assets came in, where were they installed, every spot that they've moved to within the campus potentially. So that's what that has to refer to. I have additional tabs here at the top, everybody. And those tabs are really great in that just again, gaining additional information about this specific asset. So my latitude 13, for you, you do have a latitude, but it's the 3301, I believe. But status history. So what have been, what's the history of that specific tag? Who has it been issued to? Has it been put on a transfer? Has it been put into repair and how many times? I get to pull that information here from this tab. It's just going to give me that detail status, the source. So, hey, it was status available in room 507 on my learning campus site. Destination was of that 507 when it was scanned, and then who, that's gonna be the big one, I think, is it was scanned by, for us, my IT district admin. It may be you, Nelson, maybe Karen, maybe Joelle. You just never know, right? Audit history is anytime that a tag goes onto an audit, you get a great information about the audit was placed on and then the status that it ended up being in here. Ticket history has to do with our Get Help application. It's a ticketing system. If you do not have that association, it just will kind of give you that detail right here. And then components. Remember earlier we talked a little bit about parent and component. So component is that laptop, right? So this is where I could say we pretend that my latitude was, let's pretend, a cart. And then I would say, okay, I want to put my now laptops into my cart. And so I could start to add quickly right here tags. And then you would see the list of the tags here that were the laptops that were going into my cart. I'm just going to leave it at that for now, because when we have the full training session, you'll get a full on and get a great visual of that. And then I can attach documentation for the specific tag or asset here as well if I would like. So you have that capability. Now, with each tag, I have this select action option here. This is definitely an important area, guys. This I can quickly issue again. So it's another way to issue to a staff or student. I can quickly transfer this one item over to another room. So maybe it was brought into my receiving room and we actually do not need to utilize it at this time or issue it out to anybody. And so I can maybe transfer it to my storage room, let's say. I can quickly do that right here and it would pull the information about my tag already for me. I can quickly change the status. So maybe this asset is coming back to me and I need to put it into the status of in repair so that I can, make those repairs on it. And that way I, as well as anybody else that comes in the application, it can quickly see, oh, this asset is in repair, and they can see information about why it's in repair as well. And then here is a great report. So here's another report, everybody, called Tag Lifecycle. And that gives me the entire life cycle of a tag, what has taken place with it, and just all those great details that come about. A lot of that is pulled from status history, of course, as well as even audit history has been put on an audit, all that great information. Now, you see I have this option of delete. Delete of a tag is a short time frame that you're able to actually do this action, and it really is only right after an asset has come into the application. If at any point any actions have taken place, it's been transferred, the status has changed, you will not see this delete option. So just know that this is a short window, because we definitely don't want to delete assets that have had some history with them, because really that's the whole purpose of the application, right? Is being able to see where my assets have been, they currently are, and just being able to track that information. Do I have any questions about this area?
No.
Great. Okay, so definitely the tag is going to be a great location for you all as you're getting out into the field, or getting into those campuses on the second, where you can quickly gain information about a specific item just by going to your quick search up here at the top here. One of my favorite locations, definitely. All right, so we have covered quite a bit about, the general overview of the application, definitely staff, tags. What I would like to do, everyone, is really start to dive into what it looks like. The big piece for you is going to be issuing to staff members, right? And so what I'd like to do is when you come into your application, so you're going to sign in, you're going to see the name of your campus that you're on here. If you have the admin role, you may need, or if you have access to more than one site, which I would assume that you have that at least, right? Because you're going to be going to different campuses. And so you potentially will need to what's called view switch. So you may need to first, when you first come in, say, okay, what campus am I on? And so you'll say, oh, I actually need to go, let's just say and if you notice, I'm starting to type in here and it will quickly let me find the campus that I need. So maybe you start with, okay, which campus do I need to be on? So first thing you're gonna do, yes, I need to be on Charles, or hey, actually, let's just pretend I need to find my learning. So yep, my learning campus. And so make sure in red, it will tell you which campus you're on. And then you're going to quickly come over here under Site Tools, Issue to Staff right here. Now, once you click on Issue to Staff, the staff issue inventory window will open up. You'll notice there's just a couple of fields that I have to fill out. And I know that you were talking about getting scanners yesterday, right? Did we end up deciding that you were going to purchase a few?
Yes.
Fantastic. It just makes it easier for you guys when you're out there. And if you get just like those, some little Bluetooth scanners, it makes the process a bit more seamless for you, so you don't have to stop and hand type. So you'll come in. Now, can you guys tell me a little bit about how you are planning for the process to take place? So are you going to go out to the campuses and go to each room and go to each staff member, or you have a setup and they will come to you?
I'm not exactly sure yet. I know with other schools, we'll probably go to the individuals, whereas at the high school, they will come to us.
Okay, fantastic. So the reason why I'm asking that is either way, this will work for you as well. But there is an opportunity if you need, will they have like their ID on hand that you could scan their ID?
I think so, yes.
Fantastic. There is a report, and I'm going to send it also, that report to you, that information in that guide that I'm going to create for you all. But there is what's called a barcode ID report that could even be printed per campus, based off doing that filtering that we looked at with staff members. So I'll make sure to send you that in case you're uncertain if people will have their know their ID or have a way for you to scan it. You could have a way to print a report, and what's beautiful is that report actually has the barcodes for you to scan. So I did want to make note of that for you. Now, if let's just say that we're like, Steph, we don't need to worry about that. When we get in, we can just quickly search. That is another opportunity that you can do. So one is you click in here, you quickly scan the staff member's ID. It's going to do the fun little beep for you, and it's going to pop up the staff member's information. If you want to do a quick search, which is very easy as well, You'll see I have my little binoculars here. Whenever I see those, that means I have an opportunity to search for specific information. And so here I can actually search for staff members. If I don't know the ID, I could start to look for Mr. Alan Moore, right? So then I just do a quick little enter and it pulls up Alan, or if I had more than one, pull those up. And then over to the far right, I just click on select. And then as you see here, it pops his name as well as his staff ID right here for me. If I wanted to issue more than one item to Alan, I could actually click on this little lock and it would lock down his information so that I didn't have to come in and keep re-entering his ID or name. Remember we talked about due date earlier? This is where you actually set that due date. Do you think you would want to utilize due dates?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, that's definitely something that you will all want to kind of come to a consensus on, especially the actual due date that you would like. So please remind me, Nelson, do you collect assets at the end of the year from staff members?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. Okay, so this actually would be very beneficial because when you set this, it gives a great reminder to you. So under here for see tag notifications, tag past due. So it shows you right away in that tag as we saw, and it can even send an email to the staff members. That's the district setting that would need to be enabled. And so there's quite a few positive pieces when you set that due date. So I'm going to say, just for fun, I'm going to put it out to December of next year. Now, here's another one of my required fields is that tag number. Now, just a reminder for you at this time, and this will not always be the case, but for the first 350, we are utilizing the serial number on the back of that asset for you. So you should be able to scan that barcode, right? Is there a barcode on the back of those?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So you should be able to scan it. That just make sure that, because sometimes there's more than one number that is the actual serial number. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 5455. If I scan, what's beautiful about the scanners is it's going to do a enter for me. So it's another just ease of use kind of streamlined piece. But because I hand entered, I do need to click on my little save diskette here. And then you'll see right away under current inventory is now issued my latitude 13 5455. It's put it in the status of in use because it is issued out to Alan Moore, when it took place, and then the source where it came from. So my room 507. And that's it for issuing to your staff members. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
That's what I love. And down the road, when we go to look at collecting, oh my goodness sakes, stumbling over my words. Collection is just as seamless as issuing. So it's going to be a really easy process for you all. We're going to do our best to get as much information into the application ahead of time for you so that you will not have, your concern on the second will be go finding those staff members, however you decide to make that happen. Getting their information so that you can quickly locate them, to then quickly scan that serial number to issue that asset out to that staff member. So one other piece, do you typically hand any kind of receipts to staff members when you issue out to them?
No, we don't.
Okay, I do want to at least tell you about them because there's some cool features that we have. So after I've issued out to Alan, I have an opportunity, again, see my little drop down, tells me, hey, inventory report. I have 3 opportunities to print either a distribution receipt, transaction receipt for today only, or full, which we saw earlier, right, under staff members. But the one I really would like to show you is full distribution receipt. So at some point, you say, you know what, we actually do want for the staff member to sign that they received this asset, just accountability, right? What's really cool is, first off, you see I have my little logo from here, the same as here. You get to customize this for your district. That happens at the admin view. So that maybe Karen or Frank or whoever they designate, it gives me information about it's at Learning Campus, when, so the date, and then staff information right here again. So this could potentially be mailed to Alan, but then also all of this piece right here, customizable. So you can customize for your district. It just talks about, hey, we're issuing an item to you. You agree to the terms, whatever they may be, and some general kind of rules of thumb of how to take care of your asset. And then it gives them a list of those items that have been distributed. So here's my latitude 13. This is the first one that Alan had, that 5355. And just general information that we have been seeing. If accessories were issued, even those. And then here's my 5455 right here as well. Now you see, I could print it and have Alan sign it, and I could scan it in and make it a soft copy. Or at the very bottom, this is what I really love. I click on sign receipt, and I can have Alan either with the mouse. If I have a touchpad, I could have him sign. I'm not going to do it so pretty here, but I could have him sign, and you can always decline to redo, clear signature, or you can say accept. And then right away it refreshes for me. And check this out. I have the signature right there as a soft copy that is saved to Alan's account within the application. So I know you say you typically do not, but that is definitely something that I appreciate, having that kind of accountability piece. And not only for us, the district, but also for the staff member to be like, hey, you get this paper that says what has been issued to you. And then the transaction receipt, you have the full one, which would show both of those assets. And then you have just for today, which would be just my 5455 asset that was issued to Alan. So some great opportunities there. Do you think maybe down the road those may be beneficial?
Yes.
Great. And again, I know I'm like I'm Dory repeating myself, I think. No. But always just reach out to us, guys, /gals. If you have any questions about any piece of the application, you're like, what does this do? I just got a quick overview of the application from Steph at the moment, and we will be happy to walk through those pieces with you.
Okay.
All right, so that is issuing, which is going to be your biggest piece on the second, right? So transfers, I'm just not sure if you guys will be utilizing transfers. Or do you mind if I just quickly show you what it will look like?
Sure.
Okay, great. Just to be safe in case, so that at least you have an idea of what it looks like. We're definitely doing well with time. I actually think I'll be able to get you guys out even with those little snafu-y internet issues this morning, which I don't know about you, but I love always gaining a few extra minutes to do other things, right?
Yep.
All right, so initiate transfer. And so we did just have an asset that was issued to Alan. So if it's just a quick note about transfers, if an asset, there are certain scenarios where assets cannot be transferred from one campus to another. One is definitely going to be if that asset is issued to a staff member. So I just want to make note of that. This is going to be in a scenario of if you realize that maybe some of the assets that were brought into the middle school, but as you know, Joelle said this earlier, but really we're going to be issuing at the high school and elementary school. And you need to get those assets from the middle school over to one of those other campuses. This is going to be your way to do so. So you would come to initiate transfer under your quick links. You would need to choose your other campus. So I'm going to say that, oops, actually, these assets were supposed to be at Charles Bailey, but they're on learning. And then you'll just select go. Now, real quick, just make note, all of these below are existing transfers or ones that have already been completed. But for us, it would be an initial one. So I'm going to go ahead and say go. And this is a quick step process as well, especially if you have that scanner. Let me tell you, because I usually hand enter and I'm like, oh, I have to remember that tag number. So when I first come in, I'll have transfer details, transfer number, it's a site to site, currently in the status of new. And another area that I can see the current status of the asset, or like the current step in the process, is right here. Right now, nothing's happened, so it's all grayed out. But as we walk through, you're going to see it. And then I have where it's going. So this was not supposed to be at Learning Campus. I need to move it over to Charles Bailey. And then under Actions, I have Submit, which I cannot do because I have not added any tags. I can delete, so if I realize, oops, it's fine, I don't need those assets to move, I could delete it right away. And then once I start adding assets, I can take a peek at my transfer ticket here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a tag. You potentially would scan or hand enter, and then click the drop down or enter to add it to the transfer. I can actually also go to my binoculars to search for a tag. So as a quick little way, I'm just going to say, oh, it was this asset, which is a camcorder, and to move it from Learning Campus to my Charles Bailey. So right away, you see my tag here. I get to see the tag information. If I click there, I'll be able to actually pull up that tag, and then product information, as well as what was the previous date. I can also delete it at the moment from my transfer if I realize, oops, I accidentally scanned the wrong one. I can quickly remove it here. You can add untagged inventory with doing a quick product search, potentially utilizing binoculars and adding a quantity, because untagged assets are only really tracked via quantities and really only on transfers. So a quantity of this specific product went over from campus A to campus B. And then that's really about it with untagged assets. So I'm going to go ahead and say submit my transfer. Do I have any questions beforehand, though?
No, I don't think so.
Great. And just a reminder, all those varied colors here, you get to see it a little bit better side by side of the red required if you utilize this one, and then blue is not required. I'll submit. And right away, I noticed a couple things, being that visual individual. First is ship transfer. So now my approve has changed, or my submit, to ship transfer. I can no longer delete. And I do have my print transfer ticket, which is now active, so I could take a peek at that. Additionally, I right away see my process flow. So I have submitted, and it's been approved. Now, just really quickly to talk about approved. At the admin view, under what's called district settings, there is the capability to set approvals. If there are no approvals set up, or if you are technically a site admin, you may kind of circumvent approvals, and so it'll automatically approve and kind of skip it for you. Just know that. But if you have approvals, it will require for you to approve. So just know there's two kind of ways when you see approvals. Now, I need to schedule or really ship my transfer here. And just really quickly, I'll get to see my items that are still here. They just kind of get collapsed. And one item I need to mention is this awesome transfer notes area. If there's any information I need to kind of let the receiving side be aware of, I can put it right here. Just make sure to save it to my transfer so that they get to gain that information. So, oops, I accidentally clicked that. Wrong location. And if I save it, it goes and saves it right there for me. Now, what I want to do real quick is show you my transfer ticket. It has some great information in here. Transfer number, as well as who created it, when was it printed, which is what the action I just took of clicking on the transfer ticket, date that it was created, who last edited the information, as well as when, and then where is it coming from, where is it going to, who approved it, so it may be yourself and maybe someone else. Here's those great notes I was mentioning that you'll be able to see that kind of running log of notes for the specific transfer, and then information about the asset that has been placed on the transfer. So, hey, here's the product information, tag, serial, and even funding source and the total count. So that's the transfer ticket. One cool thing is when you have images and you would like to see them, because sometimes sometimes the receiving side may not realize or know what a specific item is just by the name, right? And you can actually display images and add those to that transfer ticket. And then because it's PDF, I can utilize the PDF actions to download or print as needed. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go ahead and ship that transfer. And now it is what's called in transit, and the application will let me know transfer is ready to be received at Charles Bailey. Now for myself, because I have admin view or I have access to multiple sites, I do what's called a view switch over to my other campus. So I need to go to my Charles. And because I have my notifications set up, I can actually go under transfer notifications. I could also go under transfer tools, receive transfer, but I'm going to go right here, transfers to be received. And it gives me the number, gives me the date created, so I know it's this one from today, where it's coming from, and it's still in transit. So I'm going to go ahead and click on view transfer. And now it's moved into the status of receiving. This is where I have to bring it into a room. So potentially you would put it into that receiving or storage room that you guys have or should be having on your campuses. For me, I'm just gonna put it in my room 1000 for now. I get to specify the status of it. So I need to issue it out to the staff members. So I definitely want it available in my room 1000. There is an opportunity to use your previous tag status as well. If it was already in the status of available, great. If it was previously in the status of in repair, let's say if we're in that scenario of in repair that we talked about earlier, you could utilize this as well. Now I need that tag number. Simplest way, of course, would be to scan it. See, I think I need a little more coffee, everybody. If I do not know the tag number, I actually go here quickly to tags information. So it's 12-2000. But for technical process flow, you'll want to scan that tag to definitely ensure that you have the correct one, right?
Yep.
And there you go. So now it's gone all the way to completed. And another way I can quickly see that is quantity. 1 of 1 has been received, complete. So a nice little checkbox here for me. And then, of course, there's that tag inventory details if I need to have. And I can still always print my transfer ticket. So as well, there's a bit more steps, but it's really a simplistic process to get assets transferred from one location to the next. So really site to site is the term that you'll hear. If it turns out that maybe some of those assets that were brought in initially need to get shifted around from one campus to the other. All right, everybody. So we covered how to issue to your staff members when you get out on those campuses. I know that you're still kind of going to determine the best scenario. I will send that information to you as well as that barcode ID report because it'll be extremely helpful. How to do a quick transfer from site to site. As well as from room to room. So if at any point you needed to transfer from, as we mentioned earlier, the receiving room to the storage room, there's quite a few ways that you're able to do that. So if I go to a room, I do my little expander, and I go to my inventory, I could do a quick room to room right here. I can also do room-to-room transfer under these quick links. I'm going to show you that really quickly. The process is the same from going through rooms or my quick links. Quick links is just a little bit quicker accessing it, right? So transfer to room. So I need to know which room it's currently on so I don't accidentally maybe put it in the same room. So I know it's in my room 1000. So maybe I need to put it into, for me, maybe I need to put it into my storage room, which is at room 1000, I'm sorry. So maybe I want to put it into this storage room, the PTO sold. Select, it lets me know which room. Status, I can say use previous if I'd like, or I could always specify the status that I need to put it into. And then I need to find the tag that I am moving. So let me go ahead and do T28350. I'm clicking enter, but if you utilize your scanner, it does that for you. And then I see right here, I have moved a monitor from room 1000 over to room 1002, and I put it in the status of available. So room to room is also a quick way to get those assets moved around into the rooms that they need to be. Maybe after you have issued out all of your assets, you just realize that, hey, we have a handful or so that are kind of those backup ones that in case the teacher laptops or staff laptops need repaired, we can quickly issue from that storage room over to that staff member. Do I have any questions on the two types of transfers?
No.
Awesome. Okay. So there's one last thing, if it's okay, everyone, that I'd like to cover with you is the tags page. I'm going to do this at a very high level at this point, but I want to talk to you a little bit about it. So down the road, when you are going to be looking at more of where are my assets at, who are they issued to, Tag is going to be a great location for you to be able to come and pull that information. This is really a reporting area for you. So when I go to tags, I have what's called basic filters and advanced filters. Basic are going to be items that we've seen as we've been working through the application this morning. So what room is the item in? What location? So maybe I want to see all assets that are issued to staff members. So I can go ahead and click that. And I can say go each time to kind of see what data set is provided for me right away here. So make sure to click go. And here's another grid with that blue grid header for me with all the detailed information, such as tag, serial, product information, manufacturer, but the location is this one that we just filtered. So, hey, these are all issued to staff members, and it tells me who they are issued to, that asset type that we talked about, maybe I need to know, hey, which items that are supposed to be issued out to staff members are in repair, so that I can see, like, why is it in repair? Do they need to just be issued a new device? And so I can quickly pull information based off status. I could even do a filter set for status here, as you see, and then vendor and funding source. Now, there are even additional fields, or maybe there's ones that I do not need to worry about, such, let's say, vendor. If I go to edit columns, I can come right here to edit columns. On the right are the fields that we just saw in my header, my blue grid header. But here's additional. So first thing is, I don't really need that vendor. I can quickly shift it over by clicking on the one arrow. If it's a double arrow, it's going to move everything, whichever direction I choose. And then maybe I do want to know the due date, right? We did say, hey, due date is pretty important. We want to utilize that. Click due date. So now you see it here. I can shift it up if I would like to. And then I'll click on my little green diskette to save. The application will do a quick little refresh for me. Well, my internet stuff maybe not as quick as it normally would. For you, it'll be much quicker. Oh, I'm so silly. It probably was there. I was looking over here to the left. I thought I had shifted it. So let me do my location one more time. That could have been operator error. No. So at this time, I do not have due dates associated, but if I did, I would get to see those there. So as you see, I can quickly utilize these basic filters to hone in on a specific data set that I would like to see. I really appreciate the pagination at the bottom, but especially the counts that it gives me here at the bottom. So 20 items are a part of my filter set of location of staff for this site. But there's also advanced filters. So I have what's called a tag serial list. I just need to choose which one I would like to utilize. And I could scan or copy over a set amount of tags, T2667 and T2668. Let's see. If you notice, though, I have to put the tags on their own line each time. But I could do up to 500. And then if I click on go, it will hone down that list again for me to just those specific items. And this comes into play and really helps if I would like to do a bulk room transfer for maybe only a couple of items, or even a bulk edit where I do have the capability to update condition. So if you look here, asset condition and status. So maybe these assets I do need to put into the status of available, let's say. I potentially would come here and do status, and I could update that status based off the status that I needed to. Now, if for some reason I'm unable to do so, it will give me the information over here under tag details. 2 tags that are not in use or in repair in a room have been removed. So because these items, both of them, if you look over here at status, are in repair and are in use, I cannot change the status. And that is because I have to actually take action on those individually. So go in and collect from a specific individual to then put it into the status of available, let's say into a room. But what's great is the application gives me that information so that I can quickly make those updates for mass amounts. And then I could do a quick room to room that we just have seen. So I won't go through the full process, but a quick transfer. Now I can do actually, yes, okay. From the admin view, you could actually do from site to site, from the site view, so individual site, you can do it from room to room here. All right, so one other thing I want to show you is custom filters. This is a great way if you want to dive in a little bit deeper to find information. It's going to default to tag, but I can find just about anything. So maybe I just want to quickly find a specific due date. Now, first thing I'd like to do is I'm going to do refresh. And there's probably no due dates, honestly, on this training site. But what I'd like to show you is if I came here, advanced filters, did a add expression, so an and statement. You can alter and do like if and or type statements. I'm going to do an and I'm going to say due date. And let's say you could do equals to, so it could be a specific date. As you see here, I have quite a few options. I'm going to say is not null. And then let's see if we get anything. So is not blank. Actually, instead of doing is not null, say is I did is null, sorry. Is null is correct because there's nothing in here, right? So if I do that, I should get nothing. Let's see. All right, there we go. Oh, I do actually have a few. So because I said not is null, meaning that they are not blank. So I do have some tag due dates right here. So I was able to hone in on those specific assets that actually have tag due dates, as you see there. So there's quite a few opportunities that you have here. I always say with a lot of areas, it's just getting in there and playing around and seeing all the varied options that you have to be able to pull that data set that you specifically are looking for. Now, the one report I'm really going to focus on for this session is under, again, that tag reports. And I need to minimize this really quickly here. My tag listing report is going to provide the data set that I have filtered down. So if I want to see only information about the tag due dates, I could definitely do that and click tag listing. Or if I want to see everything on my campus, I can actually just select go when I first come into tags. And I can click on tag listing. It's going to run my quick little report. And then right away, everything that was in my column, so if you notice tag, serial, I have my funding source here, all of that good information, and here's my due date at the end. My report is going to display as it is within the actual application. And then here's my data set. And then I have the capability to come in here and do filtering as I need to gain kind of the additional information that I'm looking for. So there's quite a few other reports, but that is definitely one that potentially could be very beneficial as you come in, you kind of do your filtering for a specific data set. Definitely, I recommend that. You have the capability to then also quickly email this report to yourself or to someone else just by clicking on email report. Now, you also can save the search. So maybe you set up to where you want to always come in and be able to see a certain data set. You come in here and say save search as, and you name it. So I'm just going to say due dates. And we're just about maybe 10 minutes out, not even 5 minutes actually, if that. So actually we will be finishing up here shortly. I just really want to show you this area because it has so much great information. So right away I see here's my new filter set that I saved. If I had a filter set when I came in, I wouldn't have to come in here and individually set each filter piece. I could just say click on due dates and the application would quickly set those filters for me right away. Now, you notice there's also a save searches. If I click on that, here's my save search. This is super cool. Over to the far right under actions, if I click on my little, it looks like a little email icon, click on it, I can actually schedule for this report to be sent to myself or anybody else that I would like on a routine basis. I have to first enable it. And I need to specify the email addresses. So here I could put in as many as I'd like. I just need to put commas for separators. And then I have to clear this. Google does that nicely for me. So schedule, I can do weekly. So I could say, hey, I would like this report sent to myself and everyone on my team maybe to come in on Mondays, so we get a nice little report in our email box, 7 a.m., let's say, every Monday. And then you specify the start date, which would be today. I'm not even sure what today is. No. And I can say an end date, so maybe it's a specific project. Or I could say no end date, and then it will stay enabled and send out an email every single week, Monday, 7 a.m., until I come in and disable this or change it. One more opportunity is monthly. Maybe I just need a monthly report. Now with monthly, what I like to show you is there's one other field here. It says select the day. So you can say I want it on the 1st of the month. Or you could say, if you want to say at the end of the month, my suggestion is use last day of the month, because if you happen to utilize the 30th and it's February, you wouldn't get your report in February. And then you would just click on save to save that that specific email report, and it would go out to you on that routine basis. So it's a great feature I really like to show. And of course, anytime you see this little red circle with the white line in between, that means you could delete it. If you decide, it was just for the initial rollout of laptops and setup of the application, we don't need it anymore, you can go and delete it right away. All right, so Joelle and Nelson, that was a lot of information in, just a bit over an hour session. How are you feeling after all that?
It's pretty self-explanatory for the most part.
Right, I think so. Especially those pieces that you're going to be doing are pretty straightforward. I'm going to send you some documentation just to ensure that you guys have that for when you are out there on the 2nd. There's definitely some things I would recommend kind of as a team you guys all talk about ahead of time is, and I'm sure you're going to already, is just what will be your process when you get out to the campuses so that it's a little bit streamlined for you. I'm sure you guys have done this many times, but are you going to go to the staff members or are they going to come to you? And then hopefully if they have their ID so you can quickly scan it, that's great. But if you don't believe they will, to print out that report so you can quickly find them. It's in alphabetical order as well, and scan the barcode for the ID and then scan the serial number. So I definitely think there'll be a few more conversations that we'll all kind of have in the next day or so. And just know that we are here for you all, and we're excited to get you all rolling. And so then if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to Alicia, to myself, Stephanie, and then also our support team, who we are all available for you guys at any point that you need.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the session unless there's any additional questions. But otherwise, I think just look for, I'm going to try to get over that guide to you. Well, definitely by tomorrow. We are headed to vacation after tomorrow, and we are technically will be out of the office, but we will all have our laptops and have a way to for you to get a hold of us. But so I will definitely get that over to you by tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all. I really appreciate your time, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Yep.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yep.